Welcome, everybody. Our focus today, as you know, is to get some feedback on the mandatory grant report that we ran last year. Sharon is going to do that for us. Please just remember our house rules. So please engage with the speaker through the chat box. I will moderate and I'll bring it to Sharon's attention as we go through. But please, let's make it a conversation, not a one-way process. And please do engage in the chat room. Cool. Sharon, over to you. Do you want to share your screen?
Yes, let's go and share our screen. Just trying to make it into a, there we go.
Okay, and it's up and...
Great. Welcome everybody to our feedback for the 2022 Workplace Skills Plans and Annual Training Report. So this was a very interesting feedback for the survey. It took us, first of all, a little bit of time to get back to everybody on the feedback of the survey. And we had some interesting results on the feedback coming through. Some similar things from the previous survey, which gave us some good statistical information, but also some interesting information to feedback on. So let's have a look. So one of the things that I found that was very interesting, and the opening thing that I wanted to bring in is that there was literally the thing that everybody speaks about in the landscape is that there is no uniformity amongst the seaters. And that is something that I think we're going to bring across when we submit this report to the various stakeholders that we speak to on a regular basis, is that our detailed survey helped us to provide this valuable statistical information that we've been gathering now for 3 years, from 2020 to 2023. The 21 differing seaters have got various reporting windows. They've got these sector skills plans that they feed into the Department of Higher Education and Training, but no feedback coming back to us as industry. And I think that's an important factor that we need to actually find out why. Why don't we get any feedback? As an industry, we should be getting feedback. I'm not too sure if you're getting feedback from your seaters on your workplace skills plan specifically, but I know as a person that submits several workplace skills plans, I don't get any feedback, not even feedback on where there are issues. So I will just get that there is an issue with the workplace skills plans. Services seater is pretty good at giving us pinpointing and saying this is an issue, but from a mixed seater perspective, it's just declined, no feedback coming back unless I actually press the issue. 21 differing varying lists of hard to fill vacancies coming from those seaters, 21 different lists of occupations in high demand. So this is the information that's going out to industry. I think those are very powerful things that we're going to use as our advocacy and lobbying to the stakeholders that we're going to be engaging with. Again, the 2 different OFO codes that were out there, and a lot of the information that we got back from our members that did actually submit a survey was that the OFO codes are difficult to navigate. And if you're not very versed on using the OFO codes, then it can be difficult to navigate. So I suggest those guys that did have a problem with the OFO codes and didn't know how to navigate them properly, please look out for our OFO codes workshop when we do it. It's linked to CPD points. Make sure that you are on our OFO codes workshop, which we'll do throughout the year. The 21 seaters that have different LMISs. So there are manual LMISs, uploads in different places. I can go on for days about the differences between the LMISs. And that's why I thought that this LMIS little blurb that I have on the left-hand side here that has a let's make it smarter little acronym, I thought it was very fitting, and I'm going to suggest to the stakeholders that LMIS should not stand for let's make our lives more difficult, but it should be a learner management integrated system that makes our lives smarter, and hopefully they can listen to us and make it a one platform instead of these 21 different platforms or 21 different systems that we have to work on. I think that we have to lobby very hard for. 21 seaters that have different submission sequences. So different times where we have to upload different types of information, or where we have to submit different information about the staff, or where the annual training report goes in. So I find that is exhausting as well. So you prepare the information in advance for one seater, but you have to resequence it for another seater. 21 seaters that have different deviation requirements. So you have to change letters as well. So, and some of them don't even worry about a deviation requirement. And then lastly, your LMISs that are unreliable, full of systemic issues. There's delays, there's login issues, there's registration issues, password reset issues, and the list again goes on. I think I'm going to stop there because there was so much that I said about this slide. I wanted to just check with Andy. Was there anybody that had a comment?
There is Michael Tiger saying, what a revelation indeed. It would be most interesting to see if these findings are posted or posed to the CETA CEOs forum and that feedback is received in response to the ASDSA survey.
So this is exactly what we're going to do. Yes, Michael, we are going to put a report in that is going to, so I do a detailed report every year after this presentation. The presentation and the detailed report goes to the CETA Forum CEO, to the DHET, to QCTO, to SAQA, and all the various role players. I will actually be sending it to the Department of Labor as well this year, because I think that they need to know about that as well. And in fact, because the Department of Home Affairs deals with critical skills, they should get a copy of the report as well, just as a matter of interest. Then the other thing that I think is important is that you ought to know that a relatively small sample of our members responded. So just to let you know that the non-participating members, so this is people that are not members of ours, participated. So we send it out to our entire database, which is approximately 3,000 people, roughly, give or take. And only 2% responded from that group, which are non-members. We have in total of our member base, which is about 314 members, that's the 91%, did not respond. And only 7% of our SD skills development professionals responded. And a lot of those ones that did respond there were only a fraction that were from last year that were repeat responders. So aggregating those responses to say last year versus this year, and let's have a look at what happened last year and let's tie it up to this year, that was very difficult. So I wanted the members to know to try and look at historical data and try and look at statistical information going forward. That is a very difficult task. And I love statistics and looking at like for like on an annual basis, but it was a nearly impossible task to do that. So the message that I would like to give to members, and I'm going to be sending that out to all the members to listen to the recording, is that if we don't get the information from you, I cannot lobby for it. I cannot create that advocacy if I don't get the information from you. I know the report is tedious and I know it's long, and every year we change it slightly to make it a little bit easier. But if I don't get suggestions from the members on how to change it, then I can't move forward with it. So I think my takeaway from this is give me suggestions on how we can survey the members in the correct way so that we can advocate better and lobby better to the right stakeholders and make sure that our voices are heard. Okay. Then
comment from Angela.
Yes.
With the number of seaters introducing new LMISs at the 11th hour this year, here, Angela.
Here, Angela.
In itself. Probably
absolutely.
Too late for including in our feedback in the survey, but worth mentioning.
Well, thank you very much. I applaud that, and I agree with you. And things like CETAs. So just a point of order on that matter, where CETAs are launching like ETDP CETA, where they launch an LMIS without testing it properly, and then it fails at the last minute, and then the previous LMIS is actually not there to back up. With regards to, I can see a thumbs up coming up there. So those kinds of instances happening. Yes.
Sharon, just a comment. So mixed CETA have not got a functioning LMIS.
Yes, and they have already put an extension date in place.
They told me 2 days ago that they're going to release the LMIS today.
Okay. And they've extended the date already.
That gives us 6 weeks with an untested LMIS.
100%. And it wasn't very functional last year because I submitted to Mixita for 2 companies. So yes, that is scary stuff already. We're ready and prepared, but this is what we're dealing with.
I'm wondering whether we shouldn't include a question in the survey for members to tell us whether the LMIS is new and how functional it is.
Well, we do have a question on that, so it is in the survey.
Cool. Back to you.
Okay, so just having a look at our annual training reports from the 2022 to the 2023 year, and this is I use the 2022 year and 2023 year, which means 2021 to 2022 versus 2022 to 2023, ending in March 2023, so that everybody understands where I'm taking the reading from. And if you have a look at it, the actual spend up to March 2022 was 52,704,071 from just the 22 members that submitted this report. So I want that to ring home for everybody. If we had so we have currently got 95 plus another 34, so approximately 159 people in the skills development industry that submit workplace skills plans and annual training reports, but only 22 people took part in this survey. If we had the 159 people actually submitting the survey, that number would change significantly. So out of that, yes.
Jealous how you got to 159 people?
That is what each person actually submitted in actual figures on their survey.
Oh,
it's the total of what they submitted per annual training report. So they gave me the number of training reports that they submitted and the figure of people trained. There's another slide that I will go into in the next slide. And the anticipated spend for the following year on training is 68,550,000 for 28 people, 28 SDEPs. Okay. And it's only 22 people that have submitted. So that's significant. This is how it panned out on pivotal and non-pivotal programs. So in the last financial year, for pivotal programs, 485 programs were undertaken. Non-pivotal programs, 923 were undertaken. This is only 22 people again. Again, these numbers would change drastically if we had 159 people submitting these. Of those, 6,737 learners were trained on pivotal programs and 6,516 learners were trained. A total of 13,253 learners were trained on pivotal and non-pivotal programs between 2021 and 2022, just from 22 SDPs, skills developing professionals. And that is a total of 65 million rands worth of training done. And again, I emphasize, only 22 people took part in this survey. Can you imagine what that number would have been multiplied by 159 people submitting these workplace skills plans surveys? Just food for thought. All right, our anticipated CETA funding. So this is, again, what the question we asked here of the members was, were you going to be getting any funding from the CETAs? Okay. And the members said yes, they 28% of those surveyed members. So only of the 22 people 28% of those 22 people anticipated that they would get funding, which meant only a fraction of them, a third of them, thought that they would get funding from the CETAs. That's significant.
Sharon, what's also interesting is that we're looking at 6 million here versus a spend of 68 odd million. So
correct.
It's like 2% of the funding
100%.
Government, the rest.
So if you look at the previous slide, businesses are actually funding their own upskilling. This is significant again, and that will be in my report. So the anticipated CETA funding is only 6 million. Only 6 million, which is again, very sad, because where is that money going? I don't even think I have to tell you the answer to that question. And I can tell you for a fact, I've submitted workplace skills plans for the last probably 6-7 years now. I have not received any discretionary grant funding. I know other companies have. I'm a small SMME. They're not even looking at our submissions, and it's coming from wholly owned BEE companies, small SMMEs, and they're saying that they are upskilling those. It's not happening as far as I can see it. All right.
Another comment from Michael Tiger. It says, such a pity that the sample data based on the member non-member response to the survey is so low. In order to provide a more realistic state of training spend by state across the seaters. Yes,
I think we would get a much better picture if we had a better sample, and that is why I'm asking very nicely that every single one, and we are going to make a concerted effort, which will be a telephonic call to every single one of those people in that industry going forward, to please make sure that they submit the workplace. I know it's tedious, but it's so necessary. This is company size submitting the mandatory grants. So this just tells us the range of companies that were submitting the workplace skills plan. So you can see that 16% were SMMEs, 30% were your EMEs, so 11 to 49 employees, and then 18% were 50 to 149 employees. 22% were large employers. So, you know, a good chunk of them were in that category. And there were 14% that were very large employers. So a good mix of submissions across that sample. So we were getting a good mix across the sectors. Then scarce and critical skills. So we asked if the scarce and critical skills list meets or does not meet the requirements of your organization. And 59% of the surveyed members said it does not meet your requirements, which is what I anticipated in any way, because that scarce and critical list that has been put out is very limiting. It's got very little that speaks directly back to the professional bodies, and it limited to some specific professional bodies when it comes to the educational space. So it only refers to SACE for the educational space, and you can only go to SACE for educational space. And the rest of it is all management that comes back to other professional bodies. So that's why it's so limiting in our industry. Then this was feedback, member responses on the seated challenges. So there were, I removed quite a few of these because I had mentioned them in the first slide. So everything from differing reporting periods. So that I think does not make sense to me. January to December, April to March, decide which one you want. I personally think it should align to the April to March, or it should align to a January to December. Pick one, and then every seater must stick to it. Import templates for uploading, again, differing from one seater to the next. It should be a standardized thing. Manuals and systems not user-friendly. We've discussed those. Some seaters require training evidence to be uploaded. Some seaters also require the training evidence to be submitted after the fact, and then they don't accept your evidence because they think that your evidence is not sufficient. So that's happened to me where I've submitted an invoice or I've submitted a mentoring report or a register, and they don't like the format that I've submitted the register in. So they are not happy with our formats of the evidence. So then they must tell us what they want. So clear guidelines are not given to us. SDF registration process, we've mentioned that. Upskilling on OFO codes, we will do that, as well as they must tell us what they want. They put out those OFO codes, but I don't think that they've actually given us the opportunity to actually work with them on setting the OFO codes. Yes?
10 minutes to go.
Okay. Some seaters ask for BEE certificates and EMPSAs. So I don't know what EMPSAs are. I think they're referring to the EMP 201.
Statement of account.
The statement of the SOA, the statement of account. Okay. So yes, I have had that before as well. The information captured not reflecting in the final report, yes, please take screenshots as you're going through. You have to do that with mixed SETA. That's one of the SETAs that you have to do that with. I recommend that to all of the STPs. Make sure that you do screenshots, because that captured report at the end, services SETAs like that as well. It doesn't give you the exact report that you need at the end. So what I do is at every single stage, I screenshot and then put it into my Excel spreadsheet that I prepared in the beginning. Some SETAs provide extensions, but others don't. I think all of them do. You just have to put it in time in advance. Then availability of SETA staff during period. Yes, we know that that's a problem. DG amounts offer differ, and there is a whole new discussion around that because of that paper that is out, which we will take over to another day, or we'll hold over for another day. Mandatory grant payout periods, quarterly versus monthly. Please, just as a food for thought, check that your mandatory grant payouts equal the 20% portion that you should be getting back, because in some instances it doesn't actually balance. You need to check that it balances back if you're getting monthly or quarterly payouts. BEE critical scarce skills not listed in the final report. Again, screenshots and whatever you need to do to make sure that you are capturing your own page before you get to final report. Yeah, we know about inter-SETA transfers taking months. I will mention that in our report when we send the report to the stakeholders. Drop-down boxes. I don't know who made this comment, but is it that you want drop-down comments on the LMISs? I'm assuming that's what you want, so that it makes it easier for you to choose the options that they want. And that's unfortunately out of our control, but I will put that into the report. And then all stakeholders to pay. I think it was supposed to be at 2% SDL, because it said 20, but I think it was supposed to be 2%, and that's not fair. That is something that's still being contended. And then what I wanted to tell members is that this survey is meant to be a very powerful lobbying and advocacy tool. But at the moment, with the amount of people that are submitting this survey, we don't have it as a powerful lobbying and advocacy tool. So the more people we can get to submit this survey and the statistics to us, the more powerful it can be. So that's the message I wanted to actually bring across to the members today, is even if you are not and that's why we send it out to non-members, because we don't worry about whether you're a member or not for this survey. This survey is about statistics and numbers. And the more people we get to respond, the more powerful it's going to be. And it's about getting your voice heard. It's not about the ASDSA membership. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do, is lobby and advocate for skills development professionals, whether you're a member or not. So what we want to tell you is this next survey is going to go out depending on the extension dates. We're hoping to get it out by the end of June. If you want any changes made that you think will work better for submission purposes to shorten what you need to submit, please don't hesitate to send me an email. It's chair@asdsa.org.za. And then the report for this survey currently will go out by the end of April, and I will share it with you that we're going to be sending to all the stakeholders. So please give me your input. I'm always happy to get input from members. I'm sure Michael Tiger can tell you. I will phone you myself if you've got any queries and have a conversation with you. I'm a very hands-on CEO. So, and for those of you that don't know, my role has changed from chairperson to CEO, because we are imminently waiting for our appointment of our chairperson of the board.
Sharon, then a question from Sylvia Hammond.
Yes.
Will each SETA provide a list of all the STFs? Sylvia, typically they don't.
No, they don't.
In the past, and they've declined to. I know in the early days, for example, InSETA put every STF on their site on an Excel spreadsheet, but they don't do it any longer, unfortunately.
I do have older lists of the ETDP SETA SDFs, but because of the POPI Act, I'm not permitted to actually contact them, and it's unethical to do that. So we can do a telephone opt-in, but that would mean resources, and we are planning on doing a marketing drive to all the SDFs in the various SETAs. answer your question, Sylvia. Any other questions?
All quiet, eh? Thanks from Sylvia. Angela said, apologies being called to another meeting. Thanks so much for the informative session. I'll certainly watch the balance of the recording. So you're getting some thank yous. I think we're then done. Thanks so much, Sharon.
Pleasure.
Angelique will post the link so that you can get your CPD points into the chat box in a minute. And I think, see, we're on 9:56, so there is a minute if there are any questions still that anybody here wants to raise.
Yeah, anything that you would like to raise, anything that we need to add. I know that most of the members that are on the meeting today are members that submitted the survey. Anything that you think that could help us with the length of the survey?
Sharon, all quiet so far, hey?
Okay, no problem. I will try.
Give me a second for the link.
I think Angelique is just posting up the link for CPD.
But yeah, I think the most important thing is that we will post on our social media sites with regards to the information that is so critical that we need to collect regarding the importance of this tool being a lobbying and advocacy tool. And the more people we can get to submit the survey. I know it is like pulling hen's teeth, and it is a time-consuming exercise. And I will tell you that I know that I can actually see, so our system tells us exactly how long it takes you to submit the survey. And if it takes the person 2 minutes to submit the information, I can see that information is not 100%. It's more of a, I'm remembering the information and I'm not actually going according to the report that I have. So I'm actually going to be, myself and Andy were discussing that I'm going to be doing a little workshop on my preparation report that I do for my workplace skills plan. It's an Excel spreadsheet that I prepare in advance before I do the submission of my workplace skills plan. And it records everything that I need to submit, including the statistical data that I need to use for my survey, so that I don't have to go and look for it. So I hope that will help in the submission of the survey for our members and make your lives a little bit easier.
So everybody, I see that the link is up in the chat box. Sharon, any final comments before we close? We're just on 10.
Nope, I think we're 100%. I just wanted to say thank you very much to everybody that submitted. And I did notice that Sylvia Hammond was a repeat person. I think Michael Tiger was again a repeat person. There were a couple of other members that were repeats. Thank you so much for taking the time to submit. It's very important that you do it. So I do appreciate the constant submission of the surveys. It takes us time to put the surveys together, and it takes approximately 2 to 3 days for us to actually go through all of that information and to analyze the data and put it into a presentation and a report, and then to send it on. So it's quite a bit of work for us on the other side as well, but it's such an important part of how we want to lobby on behalf of the skills development professionals.
Great. And then I think we are done. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.